Right, that's actually encouraging.
Mm. Uh, I think I'll start giving the guidelines for the webinar.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes. I request everyone to kindly stay on mute and keep your videos switched off. This is to ensure that there is no bandwidth or connectivity issues, or we avoid any kind of disturbances that may arise. That the format of the program is sir is going to speak for about half an hour, and if you have any questions related to the topic, you can ask those questions at the end. There is a separate section for question and answers. We have allotted 15 minutes of time for that. If you have any questions that you want to ask, there is an option in Google Meet web where you can ask the question and answers. You can go in and type your question there, and the moderator will read out your question. In case you're unable to join, through your laptop and are joining in through the mobile, maybe you can just type in your questions in the message box. We'll try to answer as many questions as possible. In case there are still some questions that remain unanswered, maybe at the, you can email to us, and we will answer them. We'll ask her to, email you back. And to inform everybody that the meeting will be recorded, and by joining, you're giving your consent for the meeting to be recorded. A very warm welcome to all the participants. A very warm welcome to Kamalakanta Das sir. Thank you so much, sir, for being a part of this very interesting session, and I think a very valid topic that we need to look at in the modern times. The session is being brought to you by Reflections with Dr. Vivekanand. Dr. Vivekanand will also join us shortly. Reflections is an platform that intends to help civil services aspirants to fulfill their goals of being in public service. We want to provide students with right kind of coaching, but also aim that there has to be a holistic development of every individual, so that when they enter into public service, they are not only model citizens but also model public servants. So as a part of that intention, we today have bringing this session for you, and the topic for today is spirituality in public service. To talk about this, we have with us Kamalakant Das sir, who is an assistant professor of public policy and management at Sri Sri University, Odisha. He has more than 20 years of global experience in teaching, research, and consulting. He has studied in JNU New Delhi and Monash University, Melbourne, for his higher education. He is a leading commentator for Odia television on contemporary Indian foreign policy, having been invited more than 900 times to several news channels in Odisha. He has keen interest in ancient Indian philosophy and practice, and is now working on their contemporary relevance. A very once again welcome you, sir. And now I would hand over the mic or stage to you. The stage is all yours.
Uh, Thank you so much. If I am audible to you, am I audible to you, everyone?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. So what we'll do, so today's session, I have a little bit of PPT, and I will show that to you under the presentation. And also, I'm very keen to have a Q&A. That is point number two. And third is that I will also share a link where you can actually go and go and test a quiz on spirituality known as spiritual quotient. So, as it is being done for in under the platform of people who are aspirants of civil service, and we will be trying to connect to those questions as well, which are very, very important questions. It doesn't matter whether preparing for civil services or not, but any curious, intellectually curious individual human being will find them equally thought-provoking. So next, now it is 4:10. So next 20 minutes till 4:30. So I'm going to cover this uh, spirituality in public service. Let me just go to the PPT and I will just present it in the present now, a tab. Right. Okay. Is this visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good enough. Very good. Okay. So, what is spirituality? So, we'll start with that. So, some definition, and I'm borrowing from some places. So, this first slide is important. In one line, it says it is the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. So, spirituality. So, so it is something pertains to spirit, and spirit and matter make the world. So we are mostly about, most often we are about matter, about what we can see, what we can touch, maybe to one some extent what we can feel. But what we feel, sometimes we cannot touch and see. For example, wind, right? We cannot touch and capture it. We can feel it. So it is the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. So it is little beyond than the human body, right? And human mind is most often confined to the human bodily experiences because our experiences are our mind is conditioned with our experiences. Okay, let me read something interesting, which is from a U.S. university. Okay, let me make it a little bigger. So this is University of Minnesota. What are they saying? Spirituality is a broad concept with room for many perspectives. In general, it includes a sense of connection to something bigger than ourselves. And it typically involves a search for meaning in life. तो जिंदगी का मतलब क्या है? Why should we live? Why we are given a life? Does it have a purpose? Purpose for myself or for others? So it involves a deep search for meaning in life. As such, it is a universal human experience, something that touches all of us. People may describe a spiritual experience as sacred or transcendent, or simply deep sense of aliveness and interconnectedness. So this is spirituality. See, this is the United States University, a Western concept of spirituality, talking about interconnectedness, right? So I will continue to read. We'll find some meanings there. Some may find that the spiritual life is intricately linked to their association with a religious institution like church, temple, mosque, synagogues. Others may pray or find comfort in a personal relationship with God or a higher power. Still others seek meaning through their connection to nature or art. Like your sense of purpose, your personal definition of spirituality may change throughout your life, adapting to your own experience and relationship. So spirituality here is all about relationships. What about relationship with you, with the cosmos and your experiences? So what are the questions? How do I know what is spiritual question? They have given a question, set of questions, 5 questions. Let's look at this. Am I a good person? For many, spirituality is connected to large questions about life and identity. Am I a good person? What is the meaning of my suffering? What is my connection to the world around me? Do things happen in life for a reason? Is there a reason to reason the things are happening in my life? How can I live my life in the best way possible? So these are some of those questions that people ask in spiritual life. If you are asking these questions, you are on the spiritual path. And the term that is given to spiritual path, people who make that journey are seekers. Seekers, seekers. So are you a seeker? Right. So we'll look at two, three more definitions of spirituality and then we'll go back. Christiana Puchalski, MD, Director, George Washington Institute of Spirituality and Health, contends that spirituality is that aspect of humanity that refers to the way individuals seek and express meaning and purpose, and the way they experience that connectedness to the moment, self, to others, to nature, to the significant, or to sacred. Okay, आगे चलते हैं. Mario Bogod and Dennis Leary, spiritual brain के जो authors हैं, they write, spirituality means the experience that thought to bring the experience into contact with the divine. In other words, not just any experience that meaningful, but it is an experience beyond human experience. So they are going a little more abstract here. Narcissus Ruth Beckman Murray and Judith Proctor Genter write, the spiritual dimension tries to be in harmony with the universe, strives for answers about the infinite, and comes into focus when the person faces emotional stress, physical illness, and death. So they are health professionals, nurses. They're trying to find out how spirituality is connected to health or nursing. Okay. What are the difference between spirituality and religion? Very short answer. While spirituality may incorporate the elements of religion, which means a little bit of practice, a little bit of belief system, maybe a little bit of rituality at times, it's generally a broader concept. Religion and spirituality are not the same thing, nor are they entirely distinct from one another. Actually, they might influence each other as well. The best way to understand this is to think two overlapping circles like this. Okay, spirituality circle. Where do I find meaning? How do I feel connected? How should I live? Religion talks about what practices, rites, rituals should I follow? What is right and wrong? What is true and false? So the intersecting link, if you can see, belief, comfort, reflection, ethics, awe. Awe is being wonderstruck. At times what happens, certain things happen in your life or beyond. You do not have scientific, logical, sequential explanation for that. And you accept life as it is. So there is a certain element of mysticism involved in that. So that goes from that is in between religion and spirituality. So in spiritual, the questions are, where do I personally find meaning, connection, and value? In religion, what questions are, what is true and right? So let's not go deeper into that. We have understood a little bit on what is spirituality. I had just copied the right. So what is spirituality? The next definition which I looked at, spirituality is a broad concept with room for many perspectives, was taken from University of Minnesota. Right. Let's go to Indian perspective. Indian perspective says the first thing, the first thing you should be knowing if you want to be on the spiritual path. Everyone should be on this path. There is no choice. If you are not, then you are losing an opportunity to become a better human being. Everyone by default, irrespective of religion, culture, philosophy, atheism, whatever you believe in, you are you are coming from any society, any language, any literature, any culture, man, woman, third gender, anyone. First thing, it's a Vedantic principle. Vedanta applies to everyone. It doesn't have a religion. and it doesn't believe in rituals. First thing, Adi Shankara says, ब्रह्मम सत्य जगत मिथ्या जीव ब्रह्म बना पर। जीव और ब्रह्म में कोई अंतर नहीं है। अहम ब्रह्मस्मि इज द फाउंडेशनल प्रिंसिपल ऑफ स्पिरिचुअलिटी। मैं ही वो परम ब्रह्म का सत्ता हूं। तो अद्वैत वेदांत, देयर आर 6 schools ऑफ इंडियन फिलोसफी, जिसमें सांख्य, न्याय, वैशेषिक, योग, ये सब सारे फिलोसफी हैं, मीमांसा एंड देन वेदांत। तो वेदांत के फाउंडर कहे जाते हैं आदि शंकर। तो शंकराचार्य राइट्स अहम ब्रह्मस्मि जीव ब्रह्म बना पर। तो मैं वो ब्रह्म हूं। तो यहीं पे ही देखिए, अगर स्पिरिचुअल पाथ में हम जा रहे हैं, मैं 4 लेवल पे जाऊंगा, वापस भी आऊंगा। अहम ब्रह्मस्मि, ये फाउंडेशनल प्रिंसिपल है स्पिरिचुअलिटी का। अगर कोई लोग बोलते हैं ना, जैसे वी गो टू टेम्पल, वी आस्क समवन, अरे भाई टेम्पल चलोगे, वुड यू लाइक टू गो टू टेम्पल? No, I am not religious type, I'm spiritual. So what do they try to say? I don't go to rituals, I don't go to God, I don't go to the physical form or a metal form of a God. I don't go there. I just connect God with beyond rituals. So लोग बोलते हैं, तो आप वो बोल देते हैं मैं स्पिरिचुअल हूं, लेकिन स्पिरिचुअलिटी का डेफिनेशन क्या है? तो पहला डेफिनेशन ये है कि अहम ब्रह्मस्मि। तो ब्रह्म का मतलब हो गया कि ब्रह्म जो वो है, जो कॉस्मिक एनर्जी जो फ्लो कर रहा है, जो यूनिवर्स में फ्लो कर रहा है। आप भगवान को माने ना माने, उनको ब्रह्मा विष्णु शिव के रूप में देखें, अल्लाह के रूप में देखें, गॉड के रूप में देखें, जिनके रूप में देखें, लेकिन आप इतना मानेंगे कि आपके बियॉन्ड कोई नेचर की कैपेसिटी है व्हिच एक्चुअली मेक्स यू ए ह्यूमन लाइफ और मेक्स लाइफ अराउंड पॉसिबल। So connecting to that life and telling that I am part of that cosmic energy and consciousness is aham brahmasmi। ये भाव बहुत जरूरी है, ठीक है। ये भाव एंथ्रोपोसेंट्रिज्म और इकोसेंट्रिज्म के अंदर है। जब इंसान सारा विश्व का अपने आप को केंद्र मानता है, whenever the human being thinks that I am the central to the entire world, that is where the problem starts. But they think I am part and parcel of the world, then that is where the solution starts. सो अहम ब्रह्मस्मि स्पिरिचुअल पाथ की पहला स्टेप है। तो अहम ब्रह्मस्मि शंकर बोल के गए, आदि शंकर। देन रामकृष्ण परमहंस सेड शिव ज्ञान जीव सेवा। उन्होंने बोला कि आपने शिवो अहम बोला, तो एक निर्वाण षटकम है, जिसको मैं बाद में आपको लिंक भेज दूंगा, आप देख लीजिएगा। तो निर्वाण षटकम में 6 श्लोक हैं, जिसको कहा जाता है कि शंकर व्हेन ही वाज 8 years old he introduced himself to the possible potential guru who would like to take him under his tutelage। वो उनको पढ़ाने के लिए, उनको साथ लेने के लिए, मतलब he wanted to be a disciple of his guru, and guru asked, हे बस आप कौन हो? तो उनके आंसर में उन्होंने बोला था मैं कौन हूं। वो तो उसको निर्वाण षटकम कहा गया और वेदांत के बेसिक फिलोसफी में उसको रखा गया। तो अहम ब्रह्मस्मि उस फिलोसफी का बहुत पावरफुल सेंट्रल पॉइंट है। तो उसको बोल देने से अहम ब्रह्मस्मि, फिर ईगो आ जाएगा, मैं ब्रह्म हूं, मैं शिव हूं, तो इसमें तो ईगो आ जाएगा। तो इसमें जितने लोगों को ईगो आया, तो रामकृष्ण परमहंस बोलने लगे कि जब तुम सेवा करने नहीं लगते हो, वो ब्रह्म भाव भी आपको मुक्ति नहीं दिला सकती, क्योंकि ब्रह्म भाव में जब तक सेवा नहीं जुड़ता है, तब तक मुक्ति नहीं मिलेगी। तो उन्होंने बोला कि सब शरीर, सब मन, सब भाव से, सेवा भाव से आप सब चीजों को, सब मैनिफेस्टेशन ऑफ नेचर को शिव भावना के साथ जोड़ना है। तो शिव ज्ञान है जीव सेवा। हर जीव, ईच लिविंग सेंटिएंट बीइंग इज शिवा, एंड उसी भाव से सेवा करना। तो विवेकानंद उसको बोलते थे जीवे शिवा तथा सेवा। तो सिर्फ ज्ञान हो जाने से मुक्ति नहीं मिलेगी, वहां सेवा की जरूरत है। तो स्पिरिचुअलिटी का सेकंड स्टेज क्या हो गया? पहला स्टेज क्या हो गया? नॉलेज। सेकंड स्टेज क्या हो गया? डिवोशन एंड सर्विस। शिव ज्ञान जीव सेवा। तीसरा क्या हो गया? एकम सत विप्रा बहुधा वदंती। ट्रूथ इज वन। विप्रा, विशेष भाव में प्रज्ञा रखने वाले लोग अलग अलग तरीके से उस सत्य को बोलते हैं, इंटरप्रिट करते हैं, बताते हैं, लिखते हैं, वाद विवाद में लाते हैं, डिबेट करते हैं, डिस्कशन करते हैं। तो जो विज्ञ मतलब जो ज्ञान की तरफ गए, जो ज्ञान के सागर में गोते लगाए, someone who took it dip inside the sea of knowledge, ocean of knowledge, someone who dedicated their life for knowledge. People like them actually look at truth in their own experience. So truth is experiential, is relative. इसका मतलब क्या हो गया, आप यहां पे डाइवर्सिटी ऑफ ओपिनियन को एक्सेप्ट करोगे। एकम सत्य विप्राहा बहुधा बदंती, तो विप्रा का मतलब हो गया सारे लोग जो ज्ञान के रास्ते में गए हैं, उनका सत्य का जो एक्सपीरियंस है, जो अनुभव है, वो अलग अलग हो सकता है। ये ऑप्शन ओपन करके रखा गया, नहीं कहा गया कि एक ही भगवान है, एक ही सत्य है, एक ही किताब है और उसको फॉलो करना ही मोक्षदायी है, नहीं बोला गया। एकम सत्य विप्रा बहुधा वदंती। लास्ट, ये 4 स्टेजेस हैं, साइमल्टेनियस भी हो सकते हैं। वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, तो उसका पुराना जो श्लोक है, अयम निजम परवेति गणनाम लघुचेतसाम उदार हृदयनंच वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, जो सारा वसुधा अपने परिवार का अंश है, अपनी परिवार का अंश जो समझ लेगा, उसकी स्पिरिचुअलिटी की राह कंप्लीट हुआ। अगर आप बोलोगे अहम ब्रह्मस्मि शिव जीवे शिवा एकम सद विप्रा बहुधा वदंती वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, तो ये 4 बेसिक फाउंडेशनल प्रिंसिपल है स्पिरिचुअलिटी का। आप बताओ लॉ क्यों बनाया गया कि लोग एथिकल नहीं रहे? लॉ की जरूरत क्यों है? लॉ हैज penal provisions. Law will punish people because people lost their moral compass. People started doing things that suited them, that was advantageous to them. They tried to define things according to their own way of doing things. तो तब क्या हुआ ना, यूनिवर्सल एथिकल सिस्टम्स जो हैं, यूनिवर्सल एथिक्स का प्राइमरी प्रिंसिपल इज नो हार्म। किसी को भी आप हार्म नहीं करोगे। नो हार्म इज द बेसिक फाउंडेशनल प्रिंसिपल ऑफ यूनिवर्सल एथिक्स। तो आज जो ग्लोबल वैल्यू सिस्टम है, ह्यूमन वैल्यूज जो है, वो कैसे खत्म होता जा रहा है? क्यों? क्योंकि हम में अहम ब्रह्मस्मि भाव अगर आता तो मैं दूसरे इंसान को ब्रह्म मानूंगा ना। तो मैं ब्राह्मण परिवार में तथाकथित पैदा हुआ, someone took birth in someone else's family, I am a Muslim, I am a Christian, I am an atheist, वो बिल्कुल भाव नहीं रहेगा। तो यहाँ ना चर्च जाने की जरूरत है, ना मंदिर जाने की जरूरत है, ना टिका लगाने की जरूरत है, ना धोती पहनने की जरूरत है, ना दाढ़ी रखने की जरूरत है, ना भगवत गीता पकड़ने की जरूरत है, ना कुरान पढ़ने की जरूरत है, किसी की जरूरत नहीं है। You can still be spiritual and a fantastic human being contributing to the society without going to any religious places, without holding any religious book, without going to any guru. ये मेथड करके छोड़ दिया गया। And ancient Indian philosophy told us to experience truth, not to believe in truth. सत्य को अनुभव करने के लिए राह बताया गया, आप अपनी राह खुद चुनिए। इसीलिए भक्ति, अच्छा सॉरी, ज्ञान कर्म भक्ति 3 मार्ग दिया गया कि ज्ञान में हो सकता है नॉलेज के द्वारा, और कर्म के द्वारा हो सकता है, और डिवोशन के द्वारा हो सकता है। ये 3 मार्ग, अगर सोचो 3 मार्ग कोई मिला लिया तो उसकी मुक्ति, जो शब्द का मतलब हो गया कि अपने बंधनों से मुक्त होना, अपनी स्ट्रेस से मुक्त होना, अपनापन परायपन से मुक्त होना, जेलसी से मुक्त होना, इसी संसार में रहकर निर्वाण पाना, ना कि कहीं बैठ के संसार छोड़ के पाना। तो निर्वाण के भाव यह है कि निर्वाण, हेलो, हाँ हाँ जी, राइट राइट राइट। So what happens here? Nirvana. So people say the definition is that Vana is something which is the arrow of the pain, arrow of the 6. They call it Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Madam, Ashcharya, the 6 enemies that are there. So in that, so those Nirvana means no Ban will be able to touch you. So Nirvana means physically being available, still being able to do that. So this is what ancient Indian context talked about spirituality, and how similar with the Western articulation of spirituality is all about. So I'll quickly go. See, this is how to acquire knowledge. How to acquire knowledge? If you can read it in the Devanagari text, it says in Bhagavad Gita, Shraddhavan labhate jnanam tatparha saintandriya. So anyone who is deeply devoted, passionate about learning something, learning anything, learning any part of knowledge, Shraddha. If you have real Shraddha, you will actually climb a mountain to reach out to people. Deep love. If you have deep love, if you love someone so deeply, you will reach out to that person. So Shraddhavan labhate jnana. So if you have real love for knowledge, nothing can stop you. Tatapara after Sanatendriya. So Sanatendriya means someone who has made the sensory organs disciplined through practice. So people who are in love with the knowledge, they will get knowledge. People who are disciplined, they will also get knowledge. And people who are combined both of that, they will get knowledge very, very quickly. So any knowledge. So for example, talking about knowledge about self, knowledge about others, knowledge about society, knowledge about UPSC syllabus, knowledge about how to write. If you're really, really dedicated, you will find ways and means it will reach to definitely to you. So there are some questions here. I've just written from UPSC questions, ethics questions, and I will take not more than 5 minutes. Hatred is destructive of a person's wisdom and conscience that can poison a nation's spirit. Do you agree with this view? Justify your answer. What teachings of Buddha are most relevant today and why? The positive attitude is considered to be an essential character of civil servant who is often required to function under extreme stress. What contributes to a positive attitude in a person? Right? If you belong to the world, will you have a negative attitude to others? If you are in love with yourself, in love with the world, will you have a hatred for someone? Then what Buddha says about the teachings, the fourfold noble path, we'll come back to that. Condemn none. If you can stretch out a helping hand, do so. Vivekananda says. If not, fold your hands, bless your brothers, let them go their own way. Condemn none. If you can stretch out a helping hand, do so. Next, Gandhiji. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. What Ramakrishna said, Jiva Shiva. So now I have few questions. I'll come back to that question. So this is Buddha's four noble truths. You can already you can find out in the internet. Life has inevitable suffering. There is a cause to our suffering. There is an end to suffering. The end to suffering is contained in the eightfold path. So this is about Buddha talking about a spiritual path to go beyond suffering. So suffering is one such aspect of spiritual path where you understand that and try to question, why am I suffering? If I'm suffering, suffering is what? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Madamashcharya. There are 6 enemies: attachment, anger, jealousy, hatred, like all that you can say, hoarding, I want to keep everything to myself. So all these qualities are essentially lead us to suffering. So the spiritual world in the ancient India, whether led by the Buddha or Sankara or the Upanishadic life, they talked about, if you understand there are sufferings in life and you walk towards elevation of the suffering, then you have to embark upon a spiritual life. Then the eightfold path: know the truth, free your mind of evil, say nothing that hurts others, work for the good of others, respect life, resist evil, practice meditation, control your thoughts. These are eightfold path for getting rid of sufferings. So another thing which Shankar talked about, I'll go back to the last question. Shankar talked about sadhana chatushtaya, Viveka Chudamani, Adi Shankara. You can take the name or take a screenshot of that. You'll find that it talks about Viveka, Vairagya. Viveka is discrimination, Vairagya is detachment, Sat Sampat is 6 areas of wealth. Mumukshato means intense desire to for liberation. So this is, I will share the PPT with you if required. I'll not go to detail because this is entering into a deeper philosophy of that. So I'll stop it here and go back to the last question. So my guru says, politics is mainly about caring for people and their welfare. Just replace politics with public service. Public service is mainly about caring for people and their welfare. If everyone understood this, the country will gain a lot. We need to spiritualize politics, socialize business, and secularize religion. Very important, strong, profound points. Devoid of spirituality, politics breeds corruption. So, what spirituality is talking about? The fourfold spiritual path we talked about. Aham Brahmasmi, Shiva Jnana Jiva Seva, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Vadanti, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So, these are all Sanskrit. I have just tried to give English translation of that. And the last questions I want to ask is this. If you can answer these questions, you are already there on the spiritual ethical path. Who am I? Why am I here on this earth? What do I want to achieve in my life? Public service, IAS, business. How do I want to achieve that in my life? By hard work, by learning from others, getting inspired, being physically, mentally disciplined. How do I want to achieve that in my life? What I want people to remember me after my death, after I'm gone. What I want people to remember. So these are practical questions to bring spirituality into your daily life. Who am I? Is a simple question. I'm KK Das. But answer is not enough. This answer is correct, but not enough. Not wrong, but also not completely correct. So who am I? So more you put this question every day. Who am I? Why am I here on this earth? मुझे जिंदगी क्यों मिला है? Why I have got this life? What do I want to achieve in my life? So I'll stop it here. You take these questions, and if you can answer yourself, maybe take 5 minutes to answer these questions now. Then we can get back to Q&A.
Thank you so much, sir. I would now like to hand over to Vivekanand sir. We'll moderate the session henceforth, taking questions from the students, and if he wants to kind of ponder further and discuss this questions or discuss this topic further with you.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I hope I'm audible.
Good evening.
Sir, so it was such a nice session. So sorry, I have joined a little late. And the reason why I have joined late also is very relevant because there is one restaurant here, sir, like run by Isha Life. You must have heard about Sadhguru Foundation. This place where I went an year ago, like there are not many people at all, sir. But now it has become so popular that I have to wait for 15-20 minutes even to get a table there. And what I've noticed is most of the people who have come there for having lunch or attending yoga sessions or doing some shopping on some traditional or ethnic products, most of them are youth. So that itself is a good sign or indication to say that youth of the country are getting increasingly inclined towards spirituality in some way or other. And it's a very right time. And also for civil services aspirants, especially having some idea about what spirituality is at this point of time is very relevant. And also the subject matter, especially the ones in ethics and also the essay these days, increasingly the kind of questions are asked are reflective in nature, so you must be aware. So yes, ideas like this would definitely help them a lot in attempting the questions with comfort and ease. So on this note, sir, I have a couple of questions from my side, sir. So if you allow me,
yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yes, sir. So, can you please explain the difference between ritual component and ethical component of spirituality? So, can I repeat the question again? Say, can you please explain the difference between ritual component and ethical component of spirituality?
I think the spirituality, if you look at the definition, it's very clear. This is beyond the rituality. So it transcends the rituals, rituals which are socially embedded into identity. For example, if I belong to a Brahmin family, I have different rituals. I belong to a certain category of family, I have different rituals. Rituals in, and there are sort of sanskaras in 16 sanskaras in a Brahmin family. So they have actually monopolized the entire good things into them. It should be open for everyone. So that is one. So I personally, the quick answer to that is that yes, spirituality is essentially beyond the socially accepted, so or socially practiced, not accepted, practiced rituals. So one can also be spiritual and ritual, but essentially spirituality is a movement globally which rejected the ritual definition of purity and pollution. कि आप नहीं छुओगे जैसे होता था ना, you will not touch me when I'm doing some ritual. Some person is not allowed to touch me. I'm doing this kind of ritual. I'm worshiping a certain god. So that is a temple that another person is not allowed. So these are institutionalized views of religion. Spirituality questions is a movement which questions the institutional view of religion. It questions the exclusive view of religion. It questions exclusive mandate of God. My religion says if you worship this God, if you follow this book, only then you will get God. Only then you will get mukti, your salvation. That questions everything. So religion can give birth to spiritual faith systems, but spiritual is essentially against the blind beliefs, social practices and rituals which exclude women, which exclude other people. So spirituality is an inclusive, beyond religion, beyond ritual system where faith is doesn't matter. What matters is experience, and it is a democratic structure. It is that is why Indian spirituality is considered as a spiritual democracy. They call it Indian spirituality as spiritual democracy. So that is why it is beyond religion, beyond ritual. And when I come back to your question, when you have mentioned that whether that is ethical component of spirituality. Spirituality came out of the ethical concerns of religion. Religion had an ethical concern. All religion have spiritual components, but that are very high level of esoteric, abstract ideas. Like all human beings are one, but many people don't practice that. What happens? Religion actually divides people than connecting. Religions in plural, right? So spirituality makes bridges between religions. That is why interfaith is considered as a spiritual movement. So the answer to that is, let me repeat that answer.
Yes,
The
sir.
difference between ritual component and ethical component spirituality. Spirituality has no ritual component. Answer point number one. It cannot be bound by any ritual. That is, and there cannot be any universal ritual also that everyone has to follow. It has to be experience of self. That is the only ritual. The only ritual in spirituality is go dive deeper into yourself and try to find the connection. So that is the experience can be different. So that is no ritual component of spirituality, and ethical component of spirituality is that it connects with everyone, all living sentient beings on this earth. That is two-line answer to that. Does that answer?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
So, can I take my next question, sir?
Yes, please.
So how to inculcate a spiritual orientation naturally into our life, sir? Because without a necessity to give dedicated time and space, because these days people are running short of time or must be busy with their careers or busy with their competitive exams. In such a scenario, how to inculcate this spiritual orientation naturally and with ease, sir?
Okay. Spiritual orientation is easy to inculcate when when you are in alignment with the nature, with the cosmos. You are able to. So that are the four slokas I shared from
Yes, sir.
different sources of ancient India. Aham Brahmasmi, Jive Shiva, and service is the best way. For example, let me tell you one more thing. Um, I I trained one person in MBA. the person gave an interview. In the interview, one question was asked. Mr. Das, for example, taking my example, Mr. Das, can you explain yourself in one word that represents you in the best quality? So Mr. Das answers, fearless. Right.
Yes.
So the entire interview board is looking at each other, just to
Sure.
trying to gather breath and try to understand what this person said.
Mhm.
So what is the answer here? Best way to inculcate spirituality is through service and fearlessness.
Mhm.
So if you fear about your own mistakes, if you fear about everything, you are a soul, indestructible, cannot be done anything to you. There is no one like you. There is no Dr. Vivekananda in the entire universe. Only one piece made with one kind of feed-in system with the intention to serve the world. So that is the unique path for everyone. So now, with this knowledge, go ahead, serve people around you, take care of your health, and be physically and mentally fit. That is spiritual orientation in itself. Vivekananda said in one word
So,
that the milk you are putting on Shiva Lingam is will do not serve the purpose of Shiva, who is available everywhere on this earth.
mhm.
The Shiva who is hungry, malnutrited, sitting at the outside the temple is hungry and malnutrited. Give this milk to that Shiva who is in life and blood. So whoever child is sitting there, if that person is malnutrited, no food and hungry and begging and diseased, no health support is given, no welfare, no state, no public service reaching there, all other measures are useless. What Gandhi said in his talisman, that look at the last person in the queue and look at the most sad or person on this earth that you have met. Just think whether your action will bring happiness or smile on that person. This is spirituality. So
Okay.
spirituality is in service. Spirituality is service. Spirituality is all about serving others. First, knowing yourself that your life is for others.
Okay, sir. So, one last question from my side, sir, before we take up questions from the students.
Yeah.
So, how do spiritual orientation help an individual and a civil servant in crisis management?
Okay. So let me give you a quick example. Madam Indira Gandhi was asked one question that, Madam, you are such a powerful leader with so much of responsibility of the nation. How do you manage your mind? Then she answered a very classic yogic principle.
So,
She said, when the entire world is calm around me,
mhm,
sorry, when the entire world is chaotic around me,
mhm,
I am silent.
mhm,
When the entire world is chaotic around me, hardam mach gaya hai, something is happening, everyone is doing something, everyone is telling something, everyone is telling Indira Gandhi had done that, she should do this, everyone is writing everything, and there is chaos around. I am calm.
mhm,
When everyone is silent around me, or there is calmness around me, I am chaotic, I am restless. Because
mhm,
why it is calm? Is there something going to come about? So I should be prepared already. So this is a kind of a leader's response to a very important question about how you how you manage your mind.
mhm,
So spiritual orientation, what it does, it provides a unique calmness in you
mhm,
that with the basic knowledge of law, the subject, and the responsibility, still you understand your skill sets, your abilities, your limitations. Still beyond those limitations, you can work when you are spiritually oriented. Another quick example.
so,
Ram and Lakshman both are going to the jungle. There is some sound which is calling from a little distance, which is saying Ram, 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 like that. And Lakshman is saying, brother, do not go there. Because I think it might be one demoness, one devil, someone who might be in clandestine is sitting somewhere, and perhaps calling your name to fool you and to attack us. Then Ram says, okay, Lakshman, but I feel here is a call where it needs attention of mine. So let's look at Ram as an IS officer. You can look at that way. Then what he does, then he says, Lakshman, if I am capable enough to go there and fight the demon, I have the enough elements of power with me, both the arrow and the bow and everything, and I'm skillful. Second point is, despite being that, if I didn't go there and verify whether that call was a genuine call for help or it was a call to cheat us, then I should go there. Then after going there, when he finds the stone, a voice is coming from that stone, the stone which was cursed by the rishi in earlier lives is a stone of Ahalya, Devi Ahalya. So Devi Ahalya, with the touch of Ram's feet, becomes or regains the earlier life. Then Ahalya says, "Thank you, God, you have given me mukti." Then when Lakshman and Ram are coming back, that is another discussion. Then Ram says to Lakshman, Lakshman says, "Sorry, brother, I stopped you. I shouldn't have stopped you." No, no problem. That stopping is required to cross-check our moral compass. That is one. Second, I took a decision on the basis of my skills and abilities and also on my moral compass. What was that moral compass? I said, if I have the capacity to ameliorate, to solve someone's problem, if I'm not doing, I'm incurring sin. मुझे पाप लगेगा. If in my capacity, I'm capable, within that capacity, I'm able to solve someone's problem, dukh, sadness, unhappiness, whatever, then I will be responsible for not doing it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Neha ma'am, if there are any questions from your side or from student side, can we?
Yes. So we have a few questions from the student. Your first question was that how is it that we can question ourselves more, train oneself regularly so that they can become a better citizen or a better public servant?
Okay, I can see Keshav's question.
Yes, sir.
How
Yes,
can
sir.
one question oneself or train oneself regularly so that he or she can be better citizen or public servant? See,
Yes.
public servant, you leave it to the later stage. Let's become a good citizen. So, good citizen with power is an ideal public servant. So, are you a good citizen? Okay. Before good citizen, are you a good learner? Right. So, when you are a good learner. You are a good question setter for yourself. For example, who am I? Am I doing right things, wrong things in life? Do I understand? Have I developed a moral compass? Or am I borrowing a moral compass from someone? So that experiential questioning to oneself is the process of learning. So once you are a good learner, then you start applying those learnings into personal and community, family life. So once you apply that, you become a good citizen. For example, Keshav is a good citizen, understands there are certain things that in society you should do. For example, you should have the number of the ambulance, you should have the number of 100 police, you should have the number of the local doctor if you need someone to reach out to. So in your diary, you don't just have number of your friends and teachers and that, you have a number of people, for example, maybe the local MLS office. So how many people Keshav has been able to help in his last 3 months, reaching out or making, because as a good responsible citizen, has Keshav made a call? Has he written an editorial letter to the editor on a particular issue that requires intervention from the state or from society or from the bureaucracy? Has he done that? So a good learner in the service perspective becomes a good citizen when that learning is applied. And with that service being in mind, when you become a public servant, you know how issues crop up, why and where your value is important, and what can you do as a public servant. So I think that process has to be integrated in human life rather than You prepare for civil services for 3 years. You say, I know everything. And they are, when they ask you in an interview, what is your experience of doing service to people? Or I have just read ethics paper. So that is inadequate. You should be different from others in such a way that every week you have dedicated at least 2 hours for public service. That's possible. Every day, half an hour for contemplation, meditation. Let me tell you one more thing, last point. More you are worried about the syllabus and coverage and the burden, more you will be anxious. More I will be energyless. More energy you require, more meditation, more contemplation, more silence is required. So more refers to me in the to this context is 15 minutes to 45 minutes. Can't you give 45 minutes to yourself? Toilet and food and taking bath and talking to everyone, you or reading newspaper, you might be doing several other things which might not be immediately connected to civil services. But this meditation, contemplation exercise is essential. So meditate, do a little bit of yoga, do a little bit of pranayam, do the Kapala Bhati if you can, and do the Surya Namaskar of 1 round, 2 round, 3 round, what is possible. In 30 minutes time, your session is over. You are physically and mentally fit to serve. Okay, my question is over. My answer is over.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Second question. Please explain why service is the way to spirituality. Without service, there is no adhyatma. So adhyatma refers to, in the Sanskrit, means atmane dhyayate itihi. Bahubri samas. So atmane, in the soul, dhyayate, contemplation. So contemplating on your own self is adhyatma. So contemplating on the spirit and energy that your body has is all about being spiritual. So let me quickly give an example. All civil engineers, architects, Vastu Shastri, they look at whether this house has a negative energy or positive energy. How do they understand? They look at two things. One, they look at whether sunlight is reaching. Second, they look at whether the air has ventilation. They look at two foundational things. Vastu believes in two foundational things: sunlight and whether the air ventilation is there. So that is how you will be able to measure the energy level of or the oxygen level of a house. So can you measure your energy level? So physical energy level, how do you measure? Maybe your test of cricket. Mental energy level, how you test? When everything else is going wrong, are you steadfastly strong? Emotional energy, how do you test that? Emotional quotient. There are several tests I can share with you. So service is, let me tell you another thing. Knowledge of self, that you are the cosmic energy, is actually loving yourself. And that self-love in action is service. Extension of self-love is service. Without this, there is no spirituality. All spirituality is all about either it is a selfish spiritual path where you want to collect gyan and become get nirvana, which is not possible. Without service, that spirituality doesn't exist. That is as simple as this. Third, one routine to inculcate in daily life so that we turn more inward and spiritual. That routine, do a little bit of physical exercise, do a little bit of pranayam, do a little bit of meditation and contemplation. There are many meditations I can share. If Keshav gets back to me, I can share the meditation links and everything. There are many ways to do that. But 5 to 7 minutes to 10 minutes maximum. Who am I? What am I doing? Am I maintaining the energy level of my physical, mental, and emotional level at the level that is desired to become a good citizen and a good public servant? Am I fearless? Ask that question. Are you fearless? So you have to become fearless. How do you become fearless? When you serve. Next.
Right, sir. We have these questions from the students. I would like to check what are the other questions that the participants have, and if they would like to ask this, they can go ahead and type it in the chat box. Uh, Keshav would also like to thank you, sir, for the very enlightening answers that you have shared with everyone. Pankaj Kumar would like to ask, what's
Okay.
a meaningful life? Whether a meaningful life should be focused on growth or it should be guided by contribution or service. Because when I focus to grow as an individual, I feel a sense of guilt for not doing enough for other people. But at the same time, when I grow as an individual, I develop my capacity to give back to society. So, we all struggle through these dilemmas of whether we should focus on ourselves or right from the beginning dedicate our resources, our time, and energy towards helping other people. Uh, so, can you answer this, sir?
Okay, quick answer. If I do not know diving, if a person is drowning in water, out of altruistic, compassionate feeling, even if I jump into the water, as I do not know swimming, I will jeopardize the possibility of life of the person who is drowning, who might have been saved by someone else. I will also jeopardize my life. So in doing that, without skills, I jumped in to do a good thing. Thereby, I am jeopardizing my life, which I do not have any right to do, another person's life as well, which is also equally a crime. So self-development is absolutely necessary for other people's development. So if you know diving, swimming, you can only then save someone's life. Example number one. Example number two. If you are not a firefighter, in the house there is some fire, some human life or animal life or wealth is there, you out of concern, out of urgency, you enter into the fire, the house on fire, and you do not know, and you have not created enough safety valve to not to catch fire. You rushed into. There is a high possibility you may not be able to retrieve what you intended to retrieve. You might jeopardize your life. So these examples are simply given this way, right? Now, this way to tell that your skill set and personality development is absolutely essential. Let me tell you one thing. While you ignore yourself to do service for others for some time, you might feel good as a human being. But this service is not going to remain longer because you yourself are not energetic, not developing and focusing on your growth of your life, and you yourself are incapable, insufficient, not enough, not energetic, not able to give always, and your giving will be for a short period of time. Please focus on yourself. That is not selfish. So yoga, if that is the case, then yoga would be the most selfish science because it says take care of your breath, take care of your body, take care of your this, take care of your mind. But when I take care of my body and mind, by that I not being violent, I being considerate, I am also making a service by default. By default, I'm making a service, but we shouldn't stay confined because we are human beings who are interested to do better things. We are leaders. Leaders are not contented in their own meaning. They extend that meaning to others. So this is part one. Part two. So it says in Sanskrit, I'll do the Sanskrit and then translate it. It says, Paropakaraya Bahanti Nadya. Paropakaraya Phalanti Vriksha. Paropakaraya Duhyanti Gava. Paropakarartham idam shariram. So what does it mean? For others' benefit, the nature is for others. For others' benefit, the river flows to the ocean. What is the meaning? It could have stopped anywhere. Look at the innate, inherent, mystic meaning in nature. So Nadi, the river, is flowing so that it can actually give life forces to people around, people, animals, trees around it. Then, but then second verse, Paropakarartham phalanti bruksha. So it is for the benefit of others. The trees have fruits. They don't eat their fruits. Trees cannot eat their fruits. Right? The river is not drinking its own water. Then Paropakarartham duhyanti gavo. So for the benefit of others, the cow also gets milked. And then last, the example is given this way. So paropakarartham idam shariram. So this body is meant for others, others' benefit. Whose benefit? Shiva's benefit. Who is Shiva? Shiva who is everywhere. And the most difficult people who are living in the margins of society are the first one to be served. That is where Parupakara works. Then comes, in another yoga sloka comes, Sariram Adyam Khalu Dharma Sadhanam. If you remember these two slokas, your conceptually framework, conceptually it will be clear. I have to do benefit of others, but yoga says if that is your dharma, that is your duty, that is what is your justice for you, that is what drives you to be a good human being, that is what makes you aham brahmasmi, then what you do? Sariram Adyam Khalu Dharma Sadhanam. The body first. Take care of the body first, because through this body you will be able to serve. Without this body, you have no existence. And you are the custodian of this body. So you have a responsibility to keep this body fit, keep this mind fit, keep emotionally fit, and be fearless. And then serve. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for beautiful explanation.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for your answer. Again, the other participants, is if there is something that you would like to ask, sir, you could just raise your hand as well, and we would indicate to you, and you could unmute yourself to ask your question if you are unable to type it out.
Students can also,
meanwhile,
yeah, students can also, if they want to give feedback also, what they understood, if not question, that is also okay. Vijay.
Vijay, yes.
Vijay Anand.
Please go ahead, sir. Vijay Anand, can you ask your question?
Vijayji, if you are able to hear us.
Good evening, sir. Am I audible now?
Yes,
you are.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Sir, now educational institutions, some of the owners don't believe in God, neither in spirituality. So where is the remotest chance when they're out against it? How do I introduce that concept itself? Because it'll simply mean a person is jeopardized about his existence itself, about his job. So how do we go about subtly with it? Because I want students in large to benefit, but when the owners are against it, how do we handle that?
If I understood your question is this, that many educational institution owners have become materially inspired and inspired and by money and profit, and thereby compromising on the contribution they can make to education society. Is that what you are intending to say?
Exactly, sir. Exactly. Yes.
Okay. So I think, see, no, spirituality doesn't stop you to make money. Let me tell you one more thing. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These are fourfold desires or intent, or we can say goals of life. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So artha refers to, dharma refers to duties, dharma refers to righteousness, artha refers to finance, artha refers to finance economics, financial management, artha refers to profit, dharma, artha, kama refers to desire, kama refers to intention, kama refers to sensual pleasure, kama refers to several other things, also survival, it refers to all that. And moksha refers to desire to be freed from the societal bondages. Okay, so in that, earth, which is money, definitely holds an important space. So India, ancient India was considered very wealthy. So it is not that people were people who are only spiritual, not wealthy. So wealth is an important component. So what is that? Let me tell you one more in Sanskrit shloka which talks about what is personality development. It says, Vidya dadati vinayam, vinayat yati patratam, patratam dhanam mapnoti, dhanam dharmam anantaram sukham. So what does it mean in English? Vidya dadati vinayam. So humility comes out of knowledge. Education is absolutely foundational. If you do not have knowledge which is applicable for society to solve problems, that education is meaningless. That is just a certificate. You can do any kind of education from BA, MBA, MBBS, master degree, PhD, DLit. You do whatever education you have done. That is absolutely meaningless if it doesn't solve the problems that your education is raising. For example, you are MA in education. It says that a teacher is not teaching well. So can you contribute there? Students are not learning well. Can you contribute there? You are an MBBS. It says that people are not aware of health prevention. So can you contribute there? At least 3 people in a month. Can you orient them? No. So your education goes nowhere. So education is with a certificate, it assumes you have knowledge, but if you have not applied it, it has absolutely no meaning. So anyway, vidya dadati vinayam. So humility comes out of knowledge. So this vidya is not education, the certificate. Second, vinayat, out of this humility, vinayat jati patratam. Your personality develops because humble people are able to get more knowledge, go into the hierarchy of information, data, information, knowledge, wisdom, vision. This is the hierarchy. We have data, we have information, we have knowledge, then we have wisdom, then we have vision. So in that hierarchy, people go higher. Vidya dadati vinayam, vinayat jati patratam. Patratam dhanam mapnoti. When you have the right personality, you will be able to influence the interview board that you are the right person to be taken into. If they are not taking you, they are missing a right person in that place. So are you able to convince them? So vidya dadati vinayam, vinayat jati patratam. Patratam dhanam mapnoti. So dhan, to raise money, to create funds, to earn your living is possible when you have made your personality suitable for the society or the job that is required. Then dhanam dharmam anantaram sukham. So after you have raised some money, start serving others and make this wealth available for others who are otherwise being deprived for one reason or the other. Then dhanam dharmam anantaram sukham. That is the dharma is service. That is what is about happiness. So happiness has a method. You can only get happiness when you have done service, and service you will do when you have created money. Money will only happen when you have humble. Humbleness will only come when you have acquired knowledge. Without knowledge, happiness doesn't exist. So we have to take the path of spirituality in such a way. We have to convince them it is in their best interest. Their money and their name. For example, why this guy Nobel, Alfred Nobel, Madame Curie, Einstein, Kalidas, or for example Raja Harishchandra. So we have to do a service to these kind of people who have a lot of money. Reach out to them and tell, sir, it is in your best of interest and our interest to start embedding spiritual aspect into your activity, because that is how you will leave a legacy. Last question: what I want people to remember me after my death? So many people are not able to answer that question. They want to achieve anyway in their life. मुझे पैसा चाहिए. I need money. I need name. I need fame. I need control. I need power. I need to be MP. I need to be minister. I want everything. But how people will remember unless you have served the society? So service is the only way to be justifying your existence, or everything else is meaningless.
Thank you, sir, for that very kind, long answer. Thank you so much.
We do not see any other questions from the participants. Thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful and insightful session, and your patience as well in answering all the questions. Um, the uh, key phrases that you have shared with everyone, the specific examples have really led everyone to understand how is it that they could inculcate spirituality in their lives, and why it is absolutely necessary as well for us to make spirituality a key component of our routines, our lives, not just for our personal growth, but if we want to become public servants, and how it would make us um, someone who would stand out and who's actually fulfilling the true duty of a civil servant. So thank you so much for a very meaningful session today, sir. Um,
Yeah, Swati, I'll also take a moment to thank Sir for taking his
yes,
time out and spending time with our students and
yeah,
sharing
yes,
his
absolutely.
valuable insights. So thank you so much, sir. Please keep doing sessions for our students because I know you for quite some time, the quality of the content you deliver, and especially that too relevant to the exam. And you are not just a kind of person who just speak, and you also are the one who actually practice all the things which you are already talking, which out of my personal interaction, which I am very well aware. So yes, sir. Once again, thank you so much.
Vijay ji has a question. He has raised hand.
I think
Yes, sir, you
he's
answered my question. Thank you. Yeah, that long
Okay,
answer was for my question. Thank you, sir.
okay, right, right. Thank you.
so. So shall we call it a
Yes.
day, sir?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I'm very happy, and we could arrange this on a short notice. Hopefully, I made some contribution to the students' preparation of General Studies 4, that is Ethics and Integrity. And
So,
I personally believe that spiritual, as ethics is a bigger superset of law,
so,
and spirituality is a bigger superset of ethics. It's an
so,
umbrella term. Ethics is part of spirituality, and when people are not ethical, then law comes in to be enforced. So when people are ethical, law is not required. When people are spiritual, it itself says ethics is not required. Ethics is actually do's and don'ts. If I bring that into very minimal practical aspect, what should be
yes,
done, what should not be done. So
yes, sir.
if spirituality is an all-inclusive conceptual framework of philosophical framework of inclusion, it includes all those aspects of good things in life
Yes, sir.
and contribution and service. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Swati, for moderating the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you to all the participants as well for joining us. Have a great evening, and we look forward to your participation in many such sessions that we will have in future.
Right,
Thank
ma'am.
you to
So
Kamalakant sir once
if
again.
anyone has any feedback before they leave, because few people asked only questions. If anyone has any
Hmm.
feedback, comment, appreciation, whatever, or next session they want to, in a minute, 30 seconds, they can say. We'll hear another 1 minute.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Sure, sir. We'll do that. Um,
I just want to interrupt. So you mentioned about the website which will help you measure the spirituality quotient.
Yeah,
Maybe
I'm
you
giving
can
that.
share the link. Yes.
I'm sorry, immediately. Sorry for my Hindi. I'm actually, I was using Sanskrit and Hindi in between. Sorry for that. You cannot help but Sanskrit slokas are there, so translation has to be in English. I'm very comfortable in English and Hindi. Stayed in Delhi for a few years, so that is why Hindi comes naturally.
True, sir. Sir.
All right.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Any other feedback, comment? Jaya, Kaveri, I'm calling the names. Ranjit, Samiksha, Srinad, Vinod, anyone? The link is there.
Yes, sir.
Spiritual quotient. You can try it. So we'll call it a day. Thank you, everyone,
Yes,
and
sir.
you can
thank you.
give your feedback to Dr. Vivekanand and also Dr. Agrawal.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Good day, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone.